Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our audience all around the world. Today's webinar is entitled Better Business Outcomes, and we're going to be looking at Enterprise Architect 13 and the BA Body of Knowledge Guide version 3. My name's Scott Hebbard, and I'm the Communications Manager here at Sparx Systems. And in a moment, I'll be joined by Michael. He's going to introduce himself from the IIBA. So I've really been looking forward to this webinar today, and it's great to see so many people on the line to join us today. So welcome wherever you come from, and we can't wait to get stuck into this webinar. So the agenda for today, I'm going to start off with some basic housekeeping. I'm going to talk about how people can ask questions. I'm then going to throw over to Michael from the IIBA, and he can introduce himself and tell us a little bit about the IIBA. I'm then going to conduct a demonstration of tools and techniques for BA Body of Knowledge Guide version 3, and I'm going to use this tool in conjunction with Enterprise Architect, showcase our new product that's been released this week, which is the Pro Cloud Server, and show you how BAs can achieve better business outcomes using Enterprise Architect and tools and techniques for BA Body of Knowledge Guide V3. We're going to build a model in Enterprise Architect and understand how the toolset can help BAs to build better business outcomes. So, how to ask questions? Well, you will note that for all the people on the line that audio is muted for all participants. You'll be able to type questions to the host, and if we can't answer all questions live, and given the number of people online, it's highly unlikely, we'll follow up offline. A recording of this webinar will be made available on the Sparx Systems website, so if you want to review the content at a later date, it'll be available for you then. On screen we have a sample GoToWebinar viewer. You can see you can enter the text here in the questions box and hit send or hit enter, and that'll come through to me as the organizer. I'm going to take some breaks throughout the webinar, and I'll reflect on a couple of questions, and then we'll leave some time at the end of the webinar to cover some questions. But like I said, there's lots of people on the line. If we don't get to all those questions, we'll try and handle them offline. So thank you very much for your attendance. It's great to see so many people on the line. So what I'd like to do now is I have the great pleasure in introducing Michael Augello. So Michael, I'll hand over to you, and welcome.
Thank you, Scott. A big hello to what appears to be a truly global audience, Scott. So hello everyone, I'll introduce you all to IIBA and why I'm here. But in the meantime, don't be confused by my Italian sounding surname, Michael, or my name, Michael Augello. My Australian accent confirms I'm based in Australia, born and live in Melbourne, Australia. However, I do collaborate and work on a global basis. I've been an IIBA volunteer for some 10 years and have served on the International Board of Directors for nearly 7 years. For those of you new to the industry or seeking clarification, IIBA, the International Institute of Business Analysis, is the peak industry body serving our profession. It was founded in Toronto back in 2003, and in many respects it's flourished with chapters and members in every corner of the globe. IIBA, through its network of committed volunteers, just like me, committed volunteers, has published the widely respected BA Body of Knowledge, or as we call it, the BABOK, the Business Analysis Body of Knowledge. And through that and through other services, we offer our members and the industry at large publications, forums, events, and professional certification programs. I'm delighted to represent IIBA today, delighted to represent important stakeholders in the ecosystem we serve. Absolutely, IIBA is here to serve its members and the broad industry we work in. However, ultimately, we have a broader core purpose, and explains a little bit why I'm here. The reason for our existence, for IIBA's existence, our very existence is around our core purpose, and that's to collaborate and unite and drive towards creating a better business outcomes. So I say, and we say, let's have no more failed projects, no more initiation of the wrong projects in the first instance. Let's get it right in the first instance itself and reduce some of the wastage that we see in our resources on our various projects. It's clear as we use productivity tools, the use of knowledge management tools and the sharing of knowledge, these things are great enablers as we chase or we pursue that goal of getting better business outcomes. Lifting productivity, I think, through the use of productivity tools is to be encouraged. And Sparx, of course, shares this vision, and IIBA, and we, and I'm excited that we will see a demonstration of Enterprise Architect with the body of knowledge. As I understand it, the body of knowledge is embedded within the tool, and that's what I call productivity. Perhaps it's productivity with added spice, perhaps I could call it productivity plus. So Scott, I'm getting a little excited here. Look, I'll hand that over back, the microphone back to you. And let's get
Thank you very much. Look, it's really great to have you on the line today, and I think it's a wonderful strategic alliance between the IIBA and Sparx Systems, which has produced this wonderful tool, which there's a screenshot on screen called Tools and Techniques for the BABOK Guide V3. So this is the end result of a strategic relationship with the IIBA, and it's designed to help business analysts. And it allows you to access sample models, to access help files, and it will step you through and give you practical examples of how you can take the body of knowledge and apply it in a real-world sense with a productivity tool, which is Enterprise Architect from Sparx Systems. And I think the tool, when used in conjunction with Enterprise Architect and the body of knowledge, is the ultimate BA toolkit, and it makes your day as a BA much easier, and works really quite well. So in order to present today, I'm going to, imagine the following scenario. So imagine that you're working as a business analyst for a space agency. Now, people that have watched some of my previous webinars will know that I like science fiction and I like space, so occasionally I have done some webinars around a space agency to give it a bit of a theme. So your team has been tasked with developing a new mobile application to manage shuttle cargo and logistics. So as a BA, without knowing how to get started, you've decided to follow IIBA best practice guidelines, and you're going to use Enterprise Architect as the premium tool for BAs. And you need to document your decisions and requirements in Enterprise Architect. So how can Tools and Techniques for BA Body of Knowledge Guide version 3 help you get started? So that's what we're aiming to look at today. So on screen, you'll see our Tools and Techniques for BA Body of Knowledge. Now you can see there's a big banner down the bottom, and Sparx Systems is very proud this week that we've released the Pro Cloud Server. And the Pro Cloud Server allows you to take Enterprise Architect models and make them available online via WebEA, which is the interface that I'm going to show today. But our very first example of the Pro Cloud Server that we implemented was the BA Body of Knowledge. So we're really proud of that because it's a great practical implementation of our new technology. You can see that it's available for free for everybody online. You simply go to babok.sparxpublic.com and you select the model, and you can enter the credentials. So you can access this via a phone, a tablet, a web browser, or a PC. So in the ideal world, you'd have your tablet sitting there next to you or your mobile phone. You select the model, and then you enter an access code. So this tool is available for free for Enterprise Architect users. Now the access code is all in lowercase babok.model, and you simply click login. So it's really easy to access, easy to get to. It has simple navigation, and it allows you to look at tools and techniques for BA body of knowledge. So let's imagine that our first task is going to be to plan stakeholder engagement. Now most of that's covered in chapter 3 of the body of knowledge, but as you all know, planning is essential for any successful project. So what I want to do is I'm going to start by looking at planned stakeholder engagement. And you can see you've got a big thumbs up symbol here, so I can click on that, and I've clicked on 3.2. So this page describes how to plan stakeholder engagement. Now in the middle you have a description, and this description or definition in the middle of the diagram comes straight from the body of knowledge. So if you click on it, it's just like clicking on an element in Enterprise Architect. It says, the purpose of planned stakeholder engagement is to plan an approach for establishing and maintaining effective working relationships with the stakeholders. So all the techniques appear in the blue box at the top of the diagram. So you can see you've got brainstorming, business rules analysis, document analysis. But what I'm interested in is mind mapping. So the topic that I'm going to cover is mind mapping. And perhaps I heard it from a colleague that mind maps are a good way to organize information. But out of these 13 available techniques, I've chosen to begin with mind mapping. So it's a simple point and click navigation. So I click on mind mapping and you can see it brings up information. Now there's modeling options, but I can even see an example. So here's an example mind map that shows me some potential stakeholder analysis. So this mind map ensures that the stakeholder engagement is stored in the model and is available to everybody in the team. So the example on screen has potential stakeholders, so regulatory authority, executive, collaborative partners, and it details some of this stakeholder analysis. So what's really good about this is that the tool will show all of your modeling options and will also give you example diagrams, and you can learn how to build your own mind mapping diagram. So if you're ever sitting there going, I don't know how to get started, well, this tool takes you through step by step how to build everything. So down the bottom I can see I can learn more about mind mapping diagram, and it takes me to a help page. It says, where do I find it? Well, from the ribbon I go design, diagram, new, mind mapping, and create a new mind mapping diagram. So it provides the toolbox, right, and it shows me the toolbox options. So there's central topics, main topics, topics, and subtopics, and I can establish relationships. So that's enough to get me started. I know how to create a mind mapping diagram, and I know how to create topics. So now I'm going to switch to Enterprise Architect and actually put what I've learned into practice. So Enterprise Architect from Sparx Systems, I'm currently using Enterprise Architect 13 here. On the left hand side you have a project browser, and you can see I've created a folder called Plan Stakeholder Engagement. Now I'm going to refer to my tablet or mobile phone if I want to have a look at the steps. So once again, click on Mind Mapping, scroll down, click on Learn More, and it tells me what to do. So what do? I go to Design, Diagram, New, Mind Mapping Diagram. So the instructions tell me exactly what to do, and I can follow that step by step. So I'm going to click on the Design tab, and then I'm going to add a new diagram. So I click on New, I scroll down, and there's an option there called Mind Mapping, and I create a new mind mapping diagram. And you can see I've simply give the diagram a name. Now, in order to create some content, I start off by creating a heading. Now, I'm using the space bar, which automatically brings up the toolbox, but I could just as easily have found that under the common link in the toolbox. I'm going to apply some formatting. The next thing I'm going to do is make sure you save at regular intervals. That's just a pro tip for people that are using Enterprise Architect every day. So I drag a central topic onto the screen and I call it Key Stakeholders. Now the little black arrow there in the top right is called a quick linker, and I can drag that. What's great about Enterprise Architect to save time is that I can select create multiple elements, and I can add multiple elements to my mind map with a few button clicks. So who are the people in this organization that are stakeholders that are of interest? Well, the launch director is important. I've got a design team, I've got a DevOps team, I've got the cargo logistics team, which is loading the satellites. I've got the customers that are actually paying the money to put their satellites and research into space, and I've got a security team to manage security. So all these stakeholders have now been listed. But what I want to do is I want to plan stakeholder engagement. So with the security team, for example, there are a few meetings that I really need to have. Now, the very first meeting I need to do is I need to schedule an intro so that all the team members know each other, they know why we're here, they know what we're hoping to achieve. In addition to that, I need to have a meeting for approval. I want to have a draft security protocol, a status review, and finally a sign-off, where everybody agrees that this, the draft security protocol and the details that have come out of the meetings are agreed upon. Now with the launch director, however, that stakeholder engagement is going to be very different, because all the launch director cares about is how things are going to impact launch time, whether the logistics are going to impact the weight ratio, and integration with launch control. So the meetings that the launch director have are very different from the types of meetings that the security team will have. Now what's great about using Enterprise Architect is you can take other elements from your project, and for example, cargo logistics have a dependent relationship with the ground crew, because they can't do anything unless the ground crew loads the goods into the shuttle. So they have to have a meeting with the ground crew to get things right. You can even document information flow. So, I'm going to show information flowing from the launch director, and some of that information might be prepare the launch pad. So everything that goes in this mobile app is going to have an impact on preparing the launch pad. And so that information needs to flow through the launch director and will be used in those meetings. You can link to meeting agendas, to known requirements, and you can create a really deep, embedded mind map with a few links. Now the weight ratio also has a dependency on a requirement called payload delivery, which already exists in our model. So you can expand your stakeholder list to include specific customers, you can add additional details, and so it's really, really quite comprehensive. Now I can select an element and I can use the right mouse button in order to add to a composite structure diagram. And what this does is it allows you to create an entirely new diagram. So here I can list who our key customers are. So for the shuttle, we've got researchers, astronomers, satellite manufacturers, International Space Station, NASA, European Space Agency, and observation equipment. So these are all key customers that will use our services. Now I can highlight all of the elements, and Enterprise Architect will automatically lay out the selected elements to make it look neat. So Enterprise Architect helps to tidy things up and makes things look nice. So what we've done here in a few minutes is we've created a comprehensive mind map to capture meeting outcomes and to look at stakeholder engagement, to talk about what kind of meetings you might have. We've been able to link to a detailed list of customers. We've been able to detail all of the meetings that the security team will have. And you can link to, so here we've got some design issues for our mobile application that came out of a meeting, and a mind map was used to capture all those ideas and concepts, and that's linked as well. So you have a really comprehensive, detailed description of our stakeholder engagement. So next thing we're going to look at is 3.3, and we're going to look at planning, business analysis, governance. And so once again, you've got the same model, and this time we have 10 modeling techniques that can be used for planning, business analysis, governance. Once again, I'm going to randomly select one of the techniques that I'm interested in, and I'm really interested in organizational modeling. All right, so the modeling options are you can create an organizational chart using the strategic modeling MDG technology, which is just part of Enterprise Architect. Once again, you can look at an example of a organizational chart, and down the bottom you've got learn more, so you've got some links so that you find step-by-step instructions to help you build an org chart. So if you don't know how to use Enterprise Architect, this product will step you through and tell you how to do it. So use a ribbon, design, diagram, new, and it's a new strategic model, and it's called an organizational chart. So once again, in a perfect world, you'd have this sitting on a tablet next to you, so you could follow those step-by-step instructions, and you'd never ever have to leave Enterprise Architect. But for the purpose of demonstration, I'm switching between a web browser and my tool. So I'm creating a new diagram, and you can remember it's in the strategic modeling, and you can see there's value chains and flowcharts, but what I'm interested in is an org chart. Now there's a pattern here which I can drag onto screen, once again to save me time. Right, so one better business outcome hopefully from this webinar is that you can save time. You can use patterns and you can use techniques so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Enterprise Architect does all the work for you. Right, I can quickly go in and modify the properties. So instead of having a CEO, I'm going to have a head of software development. I'm going to get rid of the research, the link. I've got UI, research, DevOps, production and logistics. I can go through and I can change the colors so that different sections and regions use different colors so that they're easy to identify. I can draw and link and produce information flow and embed the organizational chart with other aspects of Enterprise Architect, which makes it much more powerful than an organizational chart that might go on the wall and never ever change. So what we've done in a very, very short period of time is I've been able to use our productivity tool, Enterprise Architect, to create a mind map. But it's not just a mind map, it's been linked to our customers, it's been linked to requirements, to use cases, to actors and to members of the ground crew. I've been able to create composite diagrams. I've been able to build really powerful integrations. I've been able to create an organizational chart, and if I'd never used Enterprise Architect before, well, the step-by-step guidelines will tell me exactly how to go through and go about it. So at this point of time, what I'd like to do is hand over to Michael, and perhaps we can discuss how planning is important for a BA, and if you had any comments you'd like to make, Michael.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. Wow. As you were going through it, first of all, I reminded myself that I'm a Star Trek fan, so the choice of space agency made me smile. But as you were going through that, one of the reasons why I'm a business analyst, or I align myself to the business analysis profession, is I really, really enjoy the stakeholder engagement. Didn't realise how much I love it. And I've thought about all this. You made me think about all the stakeholder engagement planning that I've done, and I learned the hard way that planning is really important up front. And I saw how wonderful it's in the BABOK, the body of knowledge, and mind mapping, but that visual that you were creating and how quickly you're creating it and linking it to other items in the corporate database. You're dragging other things in and actors and all those and existing and integrating it. And what I'm getting at is that the integration of tool sets and the integration of knowledge pools within a corporate organization, then leveraging the global practices and whatever, all in the one enterprise tool is so productive. I know I'm perhaps preaching to the converted here. It's about productivity, and I've used that word several times. But in the old days, to do that would take me, and has taken me, a long time doing it longhand, printing this document off, printing an org chart, getting my highlighter out, and then listing all the stakeholders, perhaps in a spreadsheet, and it's all text-based. what I saw you create very quickly is a visual that I can then, and then I can actually see if I've got lots of items around one stakeholder and hardly any around another. Could mean that it's by accident or could be by design. But at least it makes me think about it. Look, it's this mini productivity revolution. I call it a mini productivity revolution that's occurring here. Is exciting me, and I'd like to hand back to you, Scott, and quickly push on. And I want to hear from what looks like scores, if not hundreds of people in our audience today.
Yes, no, it certainly is the case, and we had a couple of questions about, why did I choose those particular elements, and they were just a couple of techniques. You saw on the first diagram, I think there's 13 techniques for planned stakeholder engagement. I think for plan, business analysis, governance, there was another 10 techniques. So I chose a mind map because it's easy to understand, and I chose an organizational chart because everybody would be familiar with those. We don't say that you have to use all of the techniques, and in fact, you might pick and choose techniques which are those that are preferred by the organization that you work for or the organization in question. But we try and give you lots of choices and lots of opportunities, and you can always pick up the body of knowledge and read a little bit more about some of these techniques so that you can be using best practice guidelines straight away. So thanks very much for that, Michael, and I might get stuck into the next section. So once you've done planning, the next step is elicitation and collaboration, which is chapter 4, and you can see that in the second column there, elicitation and collaboration. So once again, this will have different techniques, and the first one I'm going to look at is we'll look at 4.2, which is conduct elicitation. So I'm going to click on this link. Once again, it opens up a diagram, and in the blue box up above we have 18 different techniques to choose from, so quite a comprehensive list. So the purpose of conduct elicitation is to draw out, explore and identify information relevant to the change. So I would like to use a prototype to try and get some of that information and that knowledge about the change. And so I'm going to click on the technique called prototyping. So prototyping allows you to create wireframe diagrams, and we can look at an example. So here's an example Android application that's been modeled in Enterprise Architect, that's linked to requirements and things like that. And if I click on Learn More for prototyping, it gives me some examples for how to create a wireframe diagram. So in the first planning phase, we looked at mind maps and things like that, but I've already got some examples here that I prepared earlier that are wireframes that are integrated with things such as, what do we need our mobile application to do? Well, we need to be able to log in, and we need to be able to update our password if we've forgotten our password. So the UI components can be linked to requirements, and it also you can see, for example, we have a requirement number 56 here called manage password reset, right? And it says to use two-factor authentication and a number of other topics. So what's great about this is that you can take your wireframes and your UI design and link them to requirements. You can link them to use cases, and that means everybody in the design team knows what you're aiming to design, what you're aiming to produce. Now, a lot of times we do this so that it elicits a conversation. It starts a conversation so people can discuss, why are we designing it this way? Have we thought about these security protocols? How do we manage a password reset? What do we do? And so, for example, the first wireframe, the design team might say, well, all right, that's great, but what are our password reset questions going to be? How are we going to manage this? So you can see I can edit the notes, and there's values here for item 1, item 2. But instead of that, I'm going to say, well, you know, what's your first pet? What's your mother's maiden name? What's your best school teacher? And what's your first address? Those are very similar questions that you get, you know, perhaps with an Apple ID or something like that. So now the web interface has all these security questions, and you can model that and design that all on screen. And you can, you know, once you've answered these questions, well, the next thing you need to do is you need to submit this to a database. So I'm going to drag a button on screen. I'm going to label the button submit, and in the columns and rows there, you could contain questions about you know, credentials for the particular user. You can use wireframes to identify states. You know, so here we have a data flow diagram in the middle. So the different states that the application has, it's call, contact, message, text, and network. And our logistical application might need to be able to access clients, for example, and those clients need to be in an alphabetical list. But looking at this wireframe, we might think, well, in order to produce that alphabetical list and to produce that database, we really need the ability to connect to a database. Right? So you can link these prototypes to requirements, use cases, data flow diagrams, and much more to elicit feedback and discussions. And in Enterprise Architect, there's lots of tools such as Model Mail, and you can do element discussions and team review elements to discuss and communicate and interact, and to get your elicitation and to get your requirements right. Michael said before about no more failed projects, and you know, I think great communication can certainly help to address some of these issues. So now I've gone back to tools and techniques, and I've looked at confirm elicitation results, and this is where I think communication is really quite valuable and important. So up the top you have the definition, and you have modeling options. So it says you can create a team review category called elicitation, and then a topic within this called results evaluation, and you can create a new document called stakeholder analysis. So I'm just going to do a search up the top for team review. Just imagine that I haven't used Enterprise Architect much and I don't know where it is. And here someone's created a team review item on staffing. So let's just have a look at that to see what it looks like. So you've got your org chart that we created earlier. It talks about, you know, any review of the organizational structure should cover these ideas. It says when the structure was last reviewed, which is the 9th of May 2017. And you have links to the actual org chart. So within that team review, you can automatically link to, you know, diagrams and model elements within Enterprise Architect, so it's available for you straight away. But what we'd like to do now is we'd like to create a new category, and switching back to tools and techniques, you can see we want to call create a category called elicitation, and then create a topic under that. So all I need to do is right click and create new category and call it elicitation, and then under that particular team review create a new topic and call it results evaluation, just like the step-by-step instructions state. And then I'm just going to copy and paste some elicitation results. Yeah, and people were concerned about the login page, and it's not clear if the Facebook login will be secure enough. So we need to establish a task team to investigate the security implications. Now this might allow us to go back to the planning phase and create some meetings that are going to be added to some of that integration. And I find a lot of BA work is often iterative, so you look at one section and it helps you revise and improve other parts. So you can see that the application design now, I've put it and embedded it in the team review, so everybody looking at this can instantly you know, understand what discussions have been had, why they're important, and you can see that I've linked that Facebook button to the results evaluation, because we've had a discussion and we're not sure that Facebook is going to be secure enough for our application. So once again, you have the ability to embed information into our diagram, and you can see I can copy and paste diagrams and put them into our model. I can resize them and modify them in order to bring them into the team review. So you can create really rich, deep reporting documents that cover every aspect of your model. And what's really good is you can use this team review information and just print out a report, and it's embedded deep within your enterprise architecture model. So what I might do is I'll just pause briefly there, and Michael, as far as elicitation and collaboration for a BA is concerned, did you see some things there that you find might be valuable or help produce better business outcomes for a BA?
I'm giggling now. I'm smiling because you couldn't see me, but I was nodding furiously during that part of your presentation. Wow. I was thinking about my own way of working over the years, and historically I might have had, I have had reference material like the body of knowledge, the original green covered binder, and now it's orange. I might have that at my workstation, or I might have left it at home and I'm at the office, and so I'm toggling between reference material and other knowledge experts that I'm working with, and then going into a tool, if I'm lucky enough to have a productivity tool like Sparx Enterprise Architect. But it struck me that I'm probably more inclined, the way I work, to try different things and perhaps in my own mind take a risk and use a different technique if I'm toggling within the tool itself and I'm browsing the body of knowledge and I click on a document called mind mapping, I click on a document called prototyping, and then I'm reading it, and then I switch over all in the same tool, and I'm dragging and pasting like you were, patterns and what have you. Wow, I might have a go. And so that's made me think about my own way of working, and I might try different things. That's for starters. And then that whole integration of and linking with other items in the corporate asset base, if you like, that knowledge base of the organisation and previous requirements and other comments and what have you. It helps with things like traceability and impact assessments. If we change this business rule, what's it going to affect? And we might, have forgotten about our prototyping thing and realise, wow, there's a whole lot of screens are going to change.
I'm going to show some of those things coming up shortly.
Oh, beautiful. Yes.
All right. So I'm going to look at traceability and things like that. Now, I had a few questions. There was a question from Enrico. Said, I probably missed it at the beginning, but can we have access to babok.sparxpublic.com? And the answer is yes. So all Enterprise Architect users and IIBA members can get access to that for free. It doesn't cost anything. And the passcode is babok.model, all in lowercase. So the minute this session finishes, you can go to that website, enter those credentials, and you can use it for free. There's a question from Kevin Reed that says, is the BABOK V3 guide, so the BA body of knowledge, embedded within Enterprise Architect as a page? So later on I'm going to show you how you can use our MDG technology for BABOK to take any of the examples that we've produced and instantly implement them in Enterprise Architect. So not only do we have the model, but we have a nice MDG technology so that you can instantly create samples like the ones you've seen today. And there's a few questions that says, how do you share these? For example, do you have a web view? Can you export to PDF? And so the answer is, and that's from Todd, what methods do you see organisations leverage the elements in EA organisations? Well, there's lots and lots of different ways. Some people produce reports, some people produce PDF documents, some people output to HTML so that they can put it on a local intranet. And as I mentioned at the start of this presentation, we've now this week just released the Pro Cloud Server, which allows you to take your entire model and make it available via the web in real time, just like you're seeing with the BA body of knowledge. And you might notice that there's a couple of handouts that I've included, and one of those is on the Pro Cloud Server. So please feel free to download those handouts. So if you want to learn more about the BA body of knowledge, there's a handout on that, and there's also a handout on the Pro Cloud Server. There's lots more questions, but I might continue on. I think people are really excited, Michael, about what I'm showing them, and they just want to know how they can start implementing it and start using it within their own organisations, which I think is a great thing. So, so far we've looked at planning, we've looked at elicitation, collaboration. We've only touched, you know, some of the topics, but yeah, Michael mentioned about tracing requirements. So how do you trace requirements? Well, once again, you can click through the model and you know, look at scope modeling, and you can see that there is a link here called trace relationships. So here, use case 1 traces use case 2, and there's an example traceability diagram that links requirements to classes and to use cases, and then there's traceability tools within Enterprise Architect. So once again, there are lots and lots of help links that will show you how you can manage traceability within Enterprise Architect. So we're going to have a look at it now. So our login button is associated with requirement number 11 called Manage User Accounts. Now, if we change this requirement in order to get our application working, what impact is that going to have on the rest of our model? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the context menu to switch to this traceability diagram. So here we have requirement number 11, manage user accounts. Now what I want to do is, if we make a change to requirement number 11 so that our ability to manage user accounts allows us to manage user accounts on our mobile devices, how will that impact the rest of our model? Now for a BA, you know, managing change and traceability can be really, really important. And what I want to do is show you how easy it is to quickly ascertain, if you make a change to this requirement, what impact it's going to have. Now, you can impact and create what's called insert related elements. So this dialog allows you to find relationships to however many levels you want. So you can go down 1 level or 2 levels or 8 levels if you like. You can specify which elements you want to check and look at, and will automatically create a traceability diagram for you. So one of the benefits of using a productivity tool like Enterprise Architect is not only do you have all the information that's visible and available to everyone in the organization, not only can you communicate it and share it, just like the question that we had from Todd a little earlier, via a PDF or via the Pro Cloud Server or via a website, but you can create a traceability diagram so you can get some kind of impact analysis about what happens when you make changes. So I'm only going to go 1 level deep, and I'm going to select all. I don't really care about links to the launch director. I'm not interested in stakeholders. I'm more interested in what impact it will have on requirements and design issues. So I click OK, and I tidy the diagram up a little bit, and in you know, 5 or 6 seconds I've been able to create a traceability diagram 1 level deep. And so if I alter requirement number 11, I can see that I'm automatically going to impact requirement 18, report on console user account. There's a whole lot of requirements around secure access console. I'm going to impact the login button. I've got a device called console management system, and that's going to be impacted. If I'm managing user accounts and I change that requirement, then that's going to impact our ability to remove users, and it's also going to impact requirement 616, which is add console users. So even though I think that I'm making a change to one requirement which will only impact our mobile device dev team, in reality this change to this requirement is going to have a significant impact to a range of different requirements across the project. So from a change management perspective, this is really quite powerful, and what I really love about the insert related elements is it can be applied to any element in the model, and you could see that it really did take me less than 10 seconds to generate this diagram, and the most difficult thing I had to do was move the requirement to make it to tidy it up a little bit. And what's great is once you have this diagram, I can select the login button, for example, and or I can select a requirement, and I can bring up a traceability window. I can find where that element's used. Now, if I can't remember how to get to the traceability window, I just type in traceability and it appears on the right of screen. So now, at a glimpse, I can see that requirement 11 has information flow to manage user accounts. It's used by the launch director. It's comprised of all these other requirements. So remove user, secure access, report on console user account, add user account. It's needed by the console management. And then I can find that in all diagrams, and there's a deployment diagram. And so this impacts shuttle communications. Changing this requirement impacts shuttle communications, which I might not have been aware of. So it really gives you that deep traceability. So I select an element and it automatically updates the traceability diagram. If I click login, it updates that, and I can see that it's owned by the iPad screen, and I've got the requirements, and I can see information that flows from, what it's composed of, and what it's needed by. So it gives me a great deal of power and flexibility. Now, if I look at requirement 18, once again, I can see all the connections there for requirement 18. I can use the context menu, which is right menu button, and I can say find in all diagrams. And what's great is that there's a link here for manage secure access of the shuttle. So I can see that I've used a little legend so that I can at a glance see which elements are high, medium and low priority. Now I know, because we've made changes to requirement number 11, it's going to be used not only to manage console users but also users on our mobile application. So it's no longer a medium priority, it's now going to be a high priority requirement. So I can update that right now, and I can bring up the properties and make a change. So the great thing is every element in Enterprise Architect has type, status, alias, authors, and priority information. And you'll notice that the diagram has now automatically updated accordingly. Not only that, I can go to a requirement and I can say, well, clearly this element's traceable. So I can have a checklist, and we can modify that checklist to contain any elements that we like, and then we can find that in the project browser, and we can not only have requirements on a diagram, but we can have them grouped in packages. So you can see we've got all of our safety operation management, our launchpad management, our console operation management, all listed here together on screen. So I've really only scratched the surface, and I really looked at perhaps one or two techniques out of potentially many more. But I wanted to show you that you can trace requirements, you can maintain requirements, you can prioritize requirements. So I changed it from medium to high. You can assess requirement changes. So you notice when I changed requirement number 11, it had a big impact on other parts of the model that I might not have been aware of, and everybody can see these diagrams. So I know BA spend a lot of time doing things with requirements. So Michael, I was wondering whether had any comments about requirements management and how the body of knowledge can assist in that area.
Yeah, well, I think you've demonstrated. I think you said really business analysts know that managing requirements and traceability is really important. I know your exact words. I wrote them down actually. And those of us have been in the industry know that traceability and keeping the links and the various relationships between requirements is keeping the links is really complex to maintain. And yeah, I think you demonstrated the ease and really back to you, Scott. Sorry.
No worries. Thank you. I'll get started. There's a few questions. Dwayne says, how do you do a simulation of the project? And Enterprise Architect does support business process simulation and a number of different types of simulation. If you go to sparxsystems.com/webinars, there are a number of webinars that I've produced on simulation, so you can find out more information there. I think Dina said, can we apply templates to the generated documents? So yes, you can apply templates and use those templates in order to generate documentation and reports. How can I use EA in an agile environment? So Enterprise Architect supports lots of agile tools. You can create Kanban diagrams, you can do rundown charts, and you can model that all in Enterprise Architect as well. So Enterprise Architect certainly supports an agile methodology, and the body of knowledge can also help with some of those things. So look, I think I might continue on and get stuck into the next bit. I think there's, Marion said, is there an EA artifact like Excel or internal artifacts that are word-like? And the answer is yes, and I'm going to show some of those in a moment. So the blue diagram just shows you lots and lots of different sample models. So, there's features, there's requirements, there's strategy, there's stakeholder requirements. So if you are approaching your project more as, well, I want to do workshops and things like that, you can see lots of examples, and Enterprise Architect certainly allows you to embed those. If I look at define change strategy, there's a topic here called SWOT analysis, so you can get your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and threats. There's lots and lots of great diagrams in Enterprise Architect that you can use. So let's imagine that I now take a different approach. I want to be able to use lots of those diagrams. Now, so far, everything that I've done, I've worked one package at a time. I've created a diagram based on a topic that I've read in the body of knowledge. But if I wanted to create a few more, then I can create a new view, and I'm going to call it an enterprise view. I'm going to create a package called enterprise view here. Now I'm going to use a model wizard, and I'm going to use the MDG technology that I spoke about earlier, and you can see here that out of the box you have a BA, body of knowledge, standard framework, technique patterns, and standard documents. So what's great about this is that if you are sitting here as a BA and go, that's great, but that's going to take me a lot of time, I wish I could just have a nice enterprise template to get me started. Well, we've even done that for you. So you can go in here to your standard framework and you can select initiatives and enterprise. You'll notice that there's a checkbox up the top that says customize pattern on import, and I click OK. Now I can go through and I might not want some of these initiatives, so I might not want the management details, and I might not want the risk analysis. I can add it if I like. So I can go through and I can select the packages that are going to be of interest to me. Now obviously I'd spend a lot of time looking at the tools and techniques on my tablet to decide what's important, what diagrams I want. But feel free to experiment and take a look, and there's nothing wrong with just starting a blank model and doing a bit of experimenting to see what diagrams and what models you need. So I've created my enterprise, and now I get to choose my different initiatives, and once again I can pick and choose the ones that I want. Now the reason I'm doing this is, one of the better business outcomes is that you save time and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So I wanted to show, with a few checkboxes, I can create an entire enterprise model view developed in Enterprise Architect with a few button clicks. So for example, now I have standards on screen, and I have references. I have a whole lot of business information. I have a stakeholder list. So here's a stakeholder matrix. And to change these stakeholders, I can just bring up the properties, and I can add a launch director, and I can make changes to add satellite owners and research teams. So I can take these templates and modify them and tailor them to my needs. So what I wanted to show is, in under 30 seconds, I've been able to use a model wizard to create an enterprise level structure with lots and lots of diagrams, including a business process model and a SWOT analysis and strategies and capabilities, and in less than 30 seconds I've generated it, and then I can go in and make a few alterations and modifications so that it's tailored towards the organization that I work for. So it's really quite powerful, and as far as business needs, it helps to save time and helps to make life much easier. Now I think it was Dinah had the question, can you support Word-like documents? So here is a linked document within Enterprise Architect. You can see I can go in, it's got a template, so I can modify the document author, the release date. I've added some pictures, a nice little space shuttle picture. Unlike Michael, well, I like Star Trek, but I also like Star Wars as well. So I really do like doing this particular topic, but the main reason I chose it was to try and show you that you can use these tools to create really powerful, strong, integrated requirements, elicitation, and you can get it to do a lot of work for you. So we're kind of at the end of the presentation, so Michael, I might just throw to you quickly before we jump into some questions about what are some of the business benefits that we've covered in today's presentation.
Yeah, what I saw, I know we use the word productivity a lot this morning or this afternoon, depending on your time frame. For me, it's morning. And you mentioned about not reinventing wheels and sort of saving time. That's one aspect of productivity, but what I've also seen is the integration of different knowledge assets in an organisation, and not just within the organisation, but on a global basis of sample diagrams, patterns, and also what the body of knowledge, bearing in mind that thousands, hundreds and thousands of BAs around the world have collaborated to create the guide, and so all of a sudden we've got within the one tool set an enterprise-wide tool set. We've got the coming together of all those knowledge groups, and if that encourages me as a professional to try different things, and then it's all integrated, and I can get those impact assessments and all those things, it's got to be good for productivity. So I'll stop talking, Scott, and hear from others.
We've got a few questions. So Sian has asked, can you trace requirements and objectives to user stories? So yes, you can trace requirements to user stories and use cases, and you can also use use cases to automatically generate activity diagrams, and so yes, all of that's integrated into Enterprise Architect. And there was a previous webinar that looks at use case design and user stories, which you might find valuable. There was a question from Naveen saying, how can we get access to the example enterprise architect project file? So it's just a practice example, and we'll make that available on the Sparx Systems website when we publish the webinar. It takes a little while to get the recording and everything done, but hopefully within 2 weeks' time, the Q&A, the video, and some of the assets such as the EAP file that I've used today will all be made available online. So Naveen, thank you for your question, and yes, we'll make it available. Ashwood or Ash said, this is totally awesome. I can see not only for projects but for operations as well. I hope training accreditation will be offered in the future, so I'm sure there will be some opportunities there around that, and I love the way you've been able to adopt it within the BA body of knowledge. So thanks, Ash, for that comment, and yes, we'll take on your comments about training and accreditation. We'll have those discussions, and yeah, there's lots of questions about so Andre said, can you repeat the access code? So you go to babok.sparxpublic.com, and the access code is babok.model. So babok with a period in the middle, model, all in lowercase. Okay, and once again, we'll make that information available on our website. And we did a intro session where that's listed in our webinar series. So if you go to sparxsystems.com/webinars, have a look at the the last webinar, the access code's available. So I'm conscious of the time. I can see that we're at the hour. So Michael, I'd like to thank you very much for your time today. It's great to have someone from the IIBA come and provide comments. I hope you everyone in the audience found it enjoyable, and we really appreciate everybody's time. I suppose from my perspective, all of this is delivered by the ProCloud technology, so don't forget there's a couple of handouts that you can download. One is on the ProCloud server, which is used to deliver this great technology, and the other is on the BA body of knowledge. So the handouts, you can simply open the handouts. It's opening right here for you. You can see it on screen, and it gives you all the information that you need, and the access code, if we go to sparxsystems.com, and if we just go at the end /BABOK, there's a whole lot of detail there, and I think that the access code is also listed on that page. So there's examples of how to use it, there's tutorials, and you can see that the access code is babok.model. So thank you very much for your attendance. It's been great talking to you all today. I hope you've learned something. I hope you've started using the product. Feel free to have a look at those handouts and download them. That's it from me. Did you have any final comments that you'd like to make, Michael?
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for your time, and good day to everyone.
Okay, and have a great day, and thank you very much. So that's it from us.